This is question number 12 from the 1C notes on Venn diagrams. So in this problem, we're given a scenario to read, and then we're being asked to translate that information into a two-way table and into a Venn diagram. So let's read the problem. We're told in a trial of a new allergy medication, 120 people were given the medication and 80 people were given a placebo. So a placebo is like a sugar pill. It's used in a study to make people think they're getting the medication, but they really aren't. So you might have heard about the placebo effect. We're going to talk more about it in statistics, but you don't have to know what a placebo is to get this problem right. You just know there's two things happening. They're either given the medicine or they're given the placebo. Those are the two cases, right? Then we're told of those given the medicine, 90 showed improvement in their allergy symptoms. Of those given the placebo, 20 did not show improvement. So after reading that sentence, I'm seeing another binary situation. Either they showed improvement or they didn't. So we have two binary situations. They were either given medicine or they weren't, which means they were given the placebo. They either improved or they did not. So I'm going to use that to help me set up my two-way table here. Okay, so that first binary situation was about what was the patient given? There's only two options, right? They were either given the medication or the placebo. So I'm going to just arbitrarily choose my rows to represent what was given. So they were given the medication, so given medication, or they were given the placebo. Now, the other binary situation is about whether or not the person showed improvement, right? So they either showed improvement or they did not. So I'm going to use my columns to represent that binary situation. They either showed improvement or they did not show improvement. Okay, so now that I have my two-way table labeled, I need to reread that problem and extract the numbers that were given to me and locate them in the correct cell of this table. So let's see what first number we're given here. We're told 120 people were given the medication. Okay, I don't know anything about whether or not those 120 people improved. I just know they were given the medication. Everyone in this first row was given the medication. Some of those people showed improvement, some did not, but everyone got medication. So that 120 is a total. So I'm going to put 120 people in my total column and my given medication row. Then we're told 80 people were given the placebo. Again, we don't know whether those 80 people improved or not. We just know they were given the placebo. Well, everyone in the second row was given the placebo. Some of those people given the placebo improved and some did not, but there were 80 total. So I'm going to record 80 in the total column and the given placebo row. So now let's move on to this next piece of information. Of those given the medication, 90 showed improvement in their allergy symptoms. So what do I know about those people? I know they were given the medication. So they're in my first row. They were given the medication. And of all those people in that row given the medication, 90 showed improvement. So I also need to look at my showed improvement column. So that 90 is going to go in this first cell right here because those 90 people were given the medication and they showed improvement. Then we're told of those given the placebo, so everyone in the second row was given the placebo. So of those given the placebo, 20 did not show improvement. So I need to focus in on the column that did not show improvement. So I'm going to record 20 here in this cell. Those 20 people were given the placebo and did not show improvement. So now that we have our columns and rows labeled and we've taken numbers from the statement and put them in the correct cells of the two-way table, we need to find these missing numbers. And there's a couple places to start. I'm just going to start right here, in this cell right here. Okay, if I know that 120 total people were given the medication and 90 of those people showed improvement, then how many did not show improvement? All we need to do is subtract for that. So I'm going to take the 120 people total in that row. I'm going to subtract off the 90 that showed improvement. So the remaining 30 did not show improvement. Now I'm going to focus on this missing cell. So that's in the given placebo row. We know that 80 people were given the placebo, and 20 of those people did not show improvement. So if 80 people were given the placebo and 20 people did not show improvement, how many people showed improvement? Well, to find that, I'm just going to take the 80 total in that row that were given the placebo, subtract the 20 that did not show improvement, and that leaves 60 people that did show improvement, 60 people who got the placebo that did show improvement. Now the only remaining cells to fill in are totals, so those are easier to find. We're just going to add the numbers in this column. So 90 people showed improvement who were given the medication. 60 people showed improvement who were given the placebo. So when I add those together, that's a total of 150 people who showed improvement. And in this next column, 30 people who were given the medication did not show improvement. 20 people were given the placebo, did not show improvement. So if I add those together, that's a total of 50 people who did not show improvement. And then I can double check these entries by finding this total in the corner. And if I add up my totals from my rows and I add up my totals from my column, I should get the same number. So 120 plus 80 is 200. 150 plus 50 is 200. So I'm pretty sure I got those entries correct. So now that we have that two-way table filled out, we can transfer this information into our Venn diagram. Okay, we have two sets overlapping here. So what is this first circle going to represent? We have some options, but I'm going to choose this first circle to represent something about what was given to the participants in this trial. So the participants were either given the medication or they were given the placebo. So I'm just going to pick one of those. Okay, I could pick given the medication or I could pick given the placebo. I'm going to pick given medication. Since I've labeled this entire circle given medication, that means everyone inside the circle, and there are two regions inside that circle, everyone in that circle was given the medication. So by default, if you're outside of that circle, you were given the placebo. I'm not going to see the words given placebo anywhere in this Venn diagram. It's just assumed if I was not given the medication, the only other option was to be given the placebo. So if I'm not in this red circle that I've shaded, if I'm not in the given medication circle, then by default, being outside the circle means I was given the placebo. And just a reminder, when we overlap two circles inside this rectangle, we're creating 4 regions. And the order that we label these regions doesn't matter. So I'm just going to label this outside region, region 1. Then I'm going to have region 2, region 3, and region 4. If I wanted to, I could have labeled those differently. Maybe I could have put R1 in the intersection and then labeled R2, R3, and R4 like this. It's just arbitrary how you label those regions. It doesn't matter. There's no one right way to do it. But once I label this circle as given medication, okay, once I do that, that circle label is set in stone and it's going to affect region, in this case, region 1 and region 2. Both region 1 and region 2 were given the medication. But there's another factor, right? The other factor is whether or not they showed improvement. So I'm going to let this other circle represent whether or not the person showed improvement. And again, I'm just going to pick one of the column titles to label this circle, but I'm only going to pick one. I'm going to pick showed improvement. So everyone in this circle showed improvement. So let me shade that in. Everyone in this circle showed improvement. That means by default, if you were outside this circle, you did not show improvement. So let's think about R1. What do I know about R1? R1 is in the red circle and the green circle. So R1 represents participants that were given the medication and showed improvement. They did both. They're in the intersection. What about R2? R2 is in the red circle, so they were given the medication, but R2 is not in the green circle, so they did not show improvement. So R2 are people who were given the medication that did not show improvement. And what about R3? What do we know about these people? These people, they showed improvement, but they are not in the red circle, so they were not given medication. So R3 is the group of people who were given the placebo. They showed improvement and they were given the placebo. And then what about R4? R4 is outside of both circles. So R4 is not in the red circle, so they were not given the medication. That means they were given the placebo. And R4 is not in the green circle, so they did not show improvement. So R4 was given the placebo and did not show improvement. And again, since I chose to label this red circle given medication, there might be a different choice for a different person, or in my math lab, they might have chosen to label the red circle given the placebo. There's actually 4 different Venn diagrams that can be drawn to represent this scenario. So you have a little bit of freedom. With freedom comes some responsibility there. Okay, so if you have any questions, reach out to us in office hours, to our instructional associates, to the tutors, talk this out with your classmates. It takes practice. But once you're sure that you have your Venn diagram labeled correctly, then you're going to take the numbers from the two-way table and find their correct location, their correct region in the Venn diagram. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's usually easiest to start with the intersection. So let's do that. Let's start with R1. What do I know about R1? Well, the people in R1, they were given the medication and they showed improvement. Let's locate that in our Venn diagram. We know they were given the medication and they showed improvement. So I went to the medication row, the improvement column, and I see that's 90 people. So I'm going to record a 90 in the region that I happen to label region 1. Okay, now let's do R4, since R4 has a written description there. What do I know about R4? Well, R4 was given the placebo, so I'm going to go to that row. And R4 did not show improvement, so I'm going to go to that column. And I see the number 20 in that intersection. So I'm going to record 20 in the region that I happen to label R4. Now let's do R2. R2 was given the medication, so I'm going to go to the given medication row. But they're not in the showed improvement circle. So they did not show improvement. So I'm going to go to the did not show improvement column. And I can see the intersection is 30. So I'm going to record 30 in that region. And then for R3, R3 showed improvement. So they're in my showed improvement column, but they are not in the given medication circle. So what do I know about R3? They got the placebo. So I'm going to go to the placebo row, and I can see that the number 60 is in that intersection. Okay, now notice those 4 numbers that we transferred from the two-way table to the Venn diagram are these 4 numbers here in the center of this two-way table. We did not record any totals in my Venn diagram. We only recorded these 4 numbers. These 4 numbers were located in these 4 regions. If we want to see where these totals are, we have to interpret it. So for example, we know that everyone in the red circle was given medication. So everyone in this row was given medication. That was 120 total people. Well, if I look in my circle, there were 2 numbers to add. There was a 90 and a 30. 90 plus 30 would give me that total 120. So we can calculate the totals from the numbers that are in the Venn diagram, but we don't actually see them written. Okay, let's try another one of those totals. Let's look at everyone in the green circle. Everyone in the green circle showed improvement. Well, everyone in this first column showed improvement. 150 total. Okay, well, when I look at my circle, I have a 60 plus a 90. In that column, I have a 60 plus a 90, that total 150, that's the total number of people in my showed improvement circle. So these Venn diagrams, they take careful reading, they take an attention to detail, and they take practice, y'all. So practice these. If you have questions, reach out for help.